The Australian government was so terrified of these cars, they forced manufacturers to cancel them before they ever reached the public. Not because they were unreliable, not because they were cheap, because they were too fast for Australian roads, too powerful, too dangerous. In the 1970s, Ford, Holden, and Chrysler were locked in a war that built some of the most savage machines ever assembled in this country. These weren't family cars dressed up with stripes. These were homologation specials built on racetracks, barely made street legal, and sold to ordinary Australians who had no idea what they were actually buying. Today, we're counting down the 7 deadliest Australian muscle cars out of the 1970s. Let's get into it. Number 7, 1972 Ford Falcon XA GT hardtop. When the supercar scare of 1972 killed the GTHO program, Ford still had a brand new XA body and a 351 Cleveland V8 with nowhere to go. So they built a coupe. The XA GT hardtop wore that sweeping fastback roofline and pushed out well over 280 horsepower. Ford deliberately rated it lower to keep insurance companies quiet. On the road, it was genuinely fast, genuinely aggressive, and demanded a driver who knew exactly what they were doing. Alan Moffat campaigned an XA hardtop at Bathurst 1973. On public roads, that same engine, that same rear-wheel drive platform, and zero electronic assistance made poor decisions extremely easy to arrive at. It starts the list because it represents the era perfectly. Massive power, minimal safety net, built for one purpose. Number 6, 1970 Holden HG Monaro GTS 350. Before the HQ, before the redesigns and the emissions headaches, there was the HG Monaro GTS 350. And this thing was savage. Under the bonnet, an imported 350 cubic inch Chevrolet V8, not a local unit, the genuine American article, around 300 horsepower. In a two-door coupe body weighing just over 1,400 kilograms, 0 to 60 miles per hour in under 6 seconds. 1970. In a car any working Australian could walk into a Holden dealership and buy. The HG had enormous torque, a 4-speed Muncie gearbox, leaf spring rear suspension that stepped out hard on wet roads, and brakes that were adequate until they weren't. Contemporary road tests praised its pace and warned readers in the same breath that this car punished anyone who didn't respect it. Most didn't respect it enough. Number 5, 1974 Holden LH Torana SLR 5000 L34. The LH Torana looked almost ordinary. It was absolutely not ordinary. Holden dropped a 5.0-liter 308 cubic inch V8 into a mid-sized body that had no business going the speeds it achieved. Holden's own verified top speed figure 208 kilometers per hour. The L34 option, of which only 263 were ever built, went further still. High compression engine, baffled sump, roller rockers, a 780 CFM Holley carburetor, and bolt-on wheel arch flares. And to actually purchase one, you needed a current CAMS racing competition license. Holden would not sell you this car without proof you knew how to race. That single fact tells you everything about what category of machine this was. Peter Brock won Bathurst back-to-back in 1975 and 1976 with the L34. On the street, it was a barely tamed race car. It rewarded skill and destroyed overconfidence. Number 4, 1971 Holden HQ Monaro GTS 350. July 1971. Holden released the HQ Monaro, completely new body, longer, lower, meaner, and at the top of the range, the GTS 350 still carried that imported Chevrolet 5.7-liter V8, 275 horsepower, 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in under 7 seconds, a top speed approaching 200 kilometers per hour on 1971 Australian roads. The HQ was technically better than the HG. Coil springs all around replaced the old leaf spring rear, but better handling is relative when you're pushing 275 horsepower through rear wheels in a car with no traction control, no stability management, and tires that modern drivers would consider dangerously narrow. Wheels magazine tested it and recorded the standing quarter mile in just over 15 seconds on a public road in everyday traffic. A clean HQ GTS 350 is worth over $200,000 today. It earned that value the hard way by being genuinely ferocious in an era when there was nothing between you and the consequences, except your own skill. Number 3, 1977 Holden Torana A9X. Holden released the A9X in August 1977 without a single advertisement. No press release, no launch event, complete silence. After the supercar scare of 1972, they weren't handing any newspaper another headline. Only 405 A9X Toranas were built for public sale. The road car ran a detuned 5.0-liter V8 to keep regulators satisfied. The race version ran the full L34 motor and it won Bathurst in 1978 and 1979 with Peter Brock and Jim Richards. In 1979, they won by 6 laps, 6 entire laps, the most dominant Bathurst result in history at that point. Rear disc brakes, heavy-duty differential, radial-tuned suspension, wider guards. For the rubber, this was a racing car with a compliance plate bolted on. A clean A9X recently sold at auction for $500,000. One example is expected to exceed $1 million. These cars didn't accumulate that value by being ordinary. Number 2, 1971 Chrysler Valiant Charger E49. This one doesn't get talked about enough outside Australia, and that needs to change. The Chrysler Valiant Charger E49 was the fastest accelerating Australian-built muscle car of the entire era. Not the Phase 3, not the Monaro, the Charger, quarter mile 14.1 seconds. The Phase 3, officially the fastest four-door production car on Earth, ran 14.4. The E49 beat it, and it did it with a 6-cylinder engine under the bonnet. Chrysler's 265 cubic inch Hemi 6, triple Weber carburetors, a radical camshaft, 302 horsepower, an engine that Rev 2 Heights V8s simply couldn't reach 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 6.1 seconds in 1971. In a coupe with rear drum brakes and tires that modern drivers would not trust at those speeds. Wheels magazine declared it the fastest accelerating Australian muscle car ever built. The supercar scare killed its successor before production began. What came after the E49 was cancelled before the public ever saw it. We were left with a 6-cylinder coupe that outran everything with 8 cylinders. That alone puts it at Number 2. Number 1, 1971 Ford Falcon XA GT. Though Phase 3, there was only ever one car for this position. 300 units. Ford built exactly 300 because 300 was the homologation minimum, and they built precisely that number and nothing more. The XY Falcon GT, though Phase 3, was the fastest four-door production car in the world in 1971. Wheels magazine clocked it at 228 kilometers per hour in standard trim. With the factory rev limiter disabled, it pulled past 7,000 revolutions per minute in 4th gear. Ford officially rated the 351 Cleveland V8 at 300 horsepower. The real figure, confirmed by Ford engineers years later, sat between 350 and 380 horsepower. The company deliberately understated it to keep insurers from making the car unaffordable. Alan Moffat won the 1971 Hardy Ferodo 500 at Bathurst in a Phase 3. He qualified on pole, led from the front, and was never seriously challenged. Then one newspaper article changed everything. On June 25, 1972, the Sun Herald's front page launched the supercar scare. The NUS Minister for Transport called for a ban. Racing regulations were rewritten within a week. Ford canceled the phase for within a fortnight. A car already built in prototype form, reportedly making 400 horsepower, that the public never got to see or buy. The Phase 3 was never replaced, not because Ford gave up, because Australia decided cars this fast had no place on public roads. Today, a genuine Phase 3 sells for between $750,000 and over $1 million. The most valuable Australian production car in existence, earned not through luxury or prestige but through what it actually was: a race car with a number plate that changed Australian automotive history forever.